expert actually rate this himself.
And on top of your head then?
Yes, we're gonna do it on top of my head. Yeah.
Right there.
Oh no, it's coming down.
We are joined today by a wonderful studio audience. We have Dan of the Stepsky Foundation and Katie of San Francisco State. Katie, what's your job title again?
Chief Enrollment Officer.
Big job, big job. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Wait, is that CEO?
A different kind.
Oh.
Welcome to another episode of Philanthropy Confidential. I have a special guest here today, and I actually have to look at a piece of paper to get your entire title. This is Lori Beth Way of San Francisco State, who is the Vice Provost of Academic Planning and Dean of Undergraduate Education. Thank you so much for being here, Lori Beth.
Happy to be here.
Before we begin, is there anything that you want to say to the audience?
Don't write grants.
That's the episode. We can just cut. But we're going to continue because you have a lot of fantastic things to say. And one thing that I wanted to contextualize to the audience was that we were invited to participate in a series called the F Word series, and the F word being failure. And the Catali Foundation, which is also a spend down foundation in the Bay Area, initiated this series. And one thing I thought about was there are all these funders who are reflecting on failure. But one of the failures that I'm noticing is that we don't let grantees speak about our failures. We're speaking on behalf of them. So that's why I wanted you to be here, because I know I failed in our relationship, especially at the beginning, and I wanted you to be able to talk very directly about that to the audience. So thank you again for being here.
Yeah, but now I'm afraid if I do that, no one will give me money again.
Say more about that. Like, do you work with a lot of funders?
Yeah, I mean, I have in the past. I do work with some funders, and yeah, if I say you're terribly failing, maybe they won't want to give me money anymore, but that's okay. I'm here, I'm brave.
You're brave.
Yes.
And I want to say that that dynamic is so interesting to me, because when you describe your role at San Francisco State, like, you do tough stuff all the time. I think one time you described your role as standing in front of the academic senate and basically taking all the blows to the head when people punch you in the face. It was actually a more violent analogy that you gave me, but we're not going to go there today.
I don't remember it. I probably put it out of my head.
But you're used to that kind of rough and tumble with the politics of a university, which are natural at any big institution. But with funders, what is it about the dynamic that makes it more difficult with funders?
So I think, and this is to how they fail, and how you all have gotten so much better. But I think the biggest thing is that, especially in higher education, we need the money so bad, right? We need the money. And a lot of times the funders come in with, this is what I think you should do.
Yeah.
And often even, this is how you should do it. And so then it may not be exactly what we need, actually. They might not totally know what they're talking about, because they're not all experts in higher education and been doing this forever. And so, like, one major thing that's happened now, I don't even know how many times, is a funder will come to us and say, can you do what Georgia State did? Just do what Georgia State did. Like, it's like,
We did that, by the way.
you might have.
We did.
And it's like, well, they were actually at that for 10 years before they saw any kind of success, but everyone caught on when they had all the success. So I think that this idea, and with you all, I almost walked away from the grant, remember? Because there was what you wanted us to accomplish with the people that we had was impossible, and I was afraid to put staff on soft money, which I ended up having to do in order to meet the goals of the grant. So it's just, I think that's one of the hardest things of, like, coming in and being like, I want to fund it. This is what I want to fund, instead of like, hey, generally our goals are equity, or generally we want to increase graduation, or we want to help people in the San Francisco Bay, go to college. Okay, well then ask me how to do that, and I could probably help you get there. But if you just say, this is how you should do it, and now do you want my money to do exactly what I mean, it's kind of like hiring me instead of like giving a grant. Do you know what I mean? Or like working together. And I do think y'all might have been that way at the beginning, but changed over time.
So this is a great preview to everything that we'll go over. So Lori Beth, you've been at San Francisco State for 11 years. You and I have actually worked together in the capacity of grantee and funder for 7 of those 11 years. Could you describe for the audience the evolution of this relationship over time? Like, how would you summarize it?
I would say there was the dark years, and then there was the light years. And we have a surprise to show you that.
Okay. Dear, oh dear. All right, ready? Our relationship is evolving. What are we doing? What are we doing? Okay, it's the gold cloth again. Hi, Dan.
That's yours. And this.
Oh, whoa, yeah. I kind of suspected this.
Throw it at.
I know, I thought it was being thrown out as well. But it's okay. This is probably what it's like to be a grantee. You just think that it's going to happen one way and then something else happens.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, so this is a good analogy. I'm in a kiddie pool, by the way. That's going to become a dog pool soon. I just wanted to quickly introduce Dan, who has become a very important part of this shoot. Dan is the Director of Health at the Stepsky Foundation. He is typically responsible for giving grants to people who are improving health outcomes in San Francisco and Alameda County in Hawaii, but we have brought him here to do this for some reason, so I'm sorry to the health community of the world that he's here. So thank you, Dan, for being here today. And what are we doing, Lori Beth? Why are we here?
Well, we have a few questions for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Did Stupsky commit any of the following non-trust-based practices during the course of our relationship? A. Custom, lengthy grant proposals.
Yes.
Yes!
Okay.
B. Being asked to report on outcomes before we could realistically measure results.
I'm afraid yes.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Oh, God.
It's very thick.
It is very. Did you all stir it?
C. Impose cumbersome measurement requirements.
Yes.
I knew the answer to this one.
Right there.
Oh no, it's coming down. Okay.
D. Require lots of reporting, such as more than one report per year.
You know, you actually didn't do that one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I was getting hit too much at one time. Thank you.
Interacting with more than 3 people representing the Stupsky Foundation at any given time.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
That one hurt a little bit.
Please, no.
I think that was like one thing for every person. Because it's like you met the CEO, the vice president, the board, multiple consultants.
So, yeah, Patrick, Claire.
Claire, Chase.
Oh, there was somebody who was even put into a webinar or something. The George State guy, right?
I can't see anymore, but yes, there was lots and lots of people. The whole Georgia State situation, you met lots and lots of people.
Yeah.
So I deserve this slime.
Directing or dictating what you do with the grant.
Very much so.
Ooh.
Sorry, Jen.
Give it to me, Dan. All right.
I hope that's the end.
Okay, that's okay. Very heavy. There you go.
All good. I don't think it was all Jen's fault.
A lot of it was. A lot of it was.
And Lori Beth, is there anything else that we did?
I'm afraid so.
Go for it.
Not trusting me, making me go on retreats,
Sorry.
creating a lot of work on those retreats, going around me and offering money to other people on campus without working with me.
On that, I want to say that Lori Beth called me when that happened, and I only remember a few moments in my life. I remember where I was when Princess Diana died, and I also remember that I was in the Sonoma State parking lot when Lori Beth called me to tell me to stop doing that. So it was very memorable.
I think I said it nice. I think I
You
was
were very nice.
stern.
You were very nice and very honest. So I appreciated that.
That's how you fail, you learn.
Yes. Keep going.
Okay. Oh God, remember when you made us have these outcomes people who had to do all these surveys and like I had to meet with them so I could like pawned it off to Kim because I was like, I'm not going to all these extra meetings just to find out whether we are or not doing our job.
The external evaluators.
Yes,
And that is a
external
big thing
evaluators.
because lots and lots, I can't believe I'm describing this while slime is going down my back, but lots and lots of people use external evaluators.
It's
and Lori Beth,
insulting.
tell me, Tell us more. Why is it insulting?
We want to make sure that we're doing the right thing so we can evaluate ourselves to know if we're doing the right thing, and then we can tell you the truth about whether we're doing the right thing or not. We don't need someone from the outside who doesn't actually understand what we're doing, evaluating if we're doing the right thing. It doesn't actually make any sense, but I know everybody does it.
Give Lori Beth more money. Give her more money.
without external evaluators or 3,000 reports.
Exactly.
Or making me go to thousands of meetings.
Anything else?
I think you're very brave, and I'm glad things have turned a corner for us.
Okay. Does that mean I could stop being slimed, or do you have more?
Oh God, no! I think
That
you can
one's
stop
really
being slimed. You can stop being slimed. She really got better, I swear. You all did.
So, Lori Beth, I just wanted to say thank you. I know it's wild because there's slime that's going inside the poncho now.
No.
So before it makes its way further into the poncho, I just wanted to acknowledge that it's really rare for funders to get this type of feedback directly, that you're taking a risk by doing this. And so I greatly appreciate you being here and being very candid with me.
Sure.
So thank you so much.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah. Was it fun?
It was kind of fun.
I hope it was slightly cathartic as well. But we have a few more things to talk about, actually. So I'm going to clean myself up, and then we're going to continue the conversation.
Sounds good.
So, Lori Beth, you mentioned that this relationship evolved from darkness to lightness. Would love to be able to hear from you what that means and what improved over time.
So I can talk a little bit about, I think, what I experienced as a change, but I would also like to hear from you
sure.
about like how you made the change. So it's really, I think, a change that you made. So it went from a lot of reports and a lot of like external evaluators, which you know how I felt about them. And then you were kind of like, I think, I don't know if it was on the second grant or exactly when it was, but you were like, you know what, instead of this, how about we just like meet once a month? We just went to meeting once a month, and I actually like looked forward to it. It was just like a conversation about how are things going, you know, what's challenging, what's not challenging. Sometimes we just talked about California State University as a whole. Like there was a lot of, I think, interesting conversations. And then you went to wanting to be such a light touch that it was like, how about we meet once a year? And I was like, wow, that's like super nice, light touch. But then I was kind of like, oh, I kind of miss our conversations. So I don't really know. So I was really responding to you, right? So like, I don't know why, and maybe it sounds like maybe it was evolution of Stupski in general, but it did feel way different. Like at beginning, the dark times felt like being judged and being told what to do. And then the light times moved to, hey, let's learn together and what's working and what's not working. And also I really appreciated, and Stupski was always this way, but I want to say how much I appreciated the flexibility. Like when I would say, okay, I know this was what was in the grant, but I see a need and I don't have any money for it. Can you help with that? And you would be like, yes. And I think that was a really nice thing to help get the work done. But what changed for you?
Yeah, I think when grantees experience this, sometimes they don't know what's happening on the other side. And part of it is that our board, and to their credit, shifted the power away from them to us as staff members. So even though the board still wanted to know what San Francisco State was doing, they were still interested in some of the details in the grant, the idea of them trying to control or wanting to control the individual machinations of a grant kind of went away. And so I just want to credit the board for not having to, try to control or approve every single grant on their own, because it's an impossible job when you're on a board. But I think in the world of foundations, the boards and the wealthy people tend to be the boogeyman here. But I would actually say the biggest change is the one that I actually had to make for myself, which is, I think you noted this in one of our interactions. I was pretty young when I started this job. And I think there was this idea of what a program officer should be. Someone who knows a lot, who can provide expertise, who's going to inform strategy. And I think I realized pretty close, probably it was the one call where you're just like, hey, can you stop doing this? Where I was like, you know what? I don't need to perform competence. You're ready. You know what you're doing. All I need to do is sit back and support. And the really strange thing is the moment I stopped trying to control and perform competence was the moment that you actually started coming to me to ask questions. So it's kind of weird how that works. And I realized that my role as a funder is one, to help you fundraise, and two, to help you figure out, like, are there other people that I can potentially connect you with? And I felt like that was a more fulfilling role than the compliance one, because the compliance one is super stressful. And it sounds like it was stressful for you.
Yeah, and I think one other thing I would say I observed, I think consistent with what you're talking about, is when you initially asked me questions, was kind of like questions like, oh, do you know about Georgia State kind of question?
Yeah.
And then with the conversations that I really liked and ended up missing were more conversations about like, hey, what do you think is happening here? Or you came to me and said, I'm realizing there's a lot of advisor burnout. Why do you think that is, kind of thing? Instead of like, hey, did you notice there's advisor burnout? Which is like maybe the old way you would have said it,
Yeah.
right? So I think that I can understand now. I can see what you're saying about your performing competence, and then when you stopped and just realized you were competent, it like helped the interaction. I would agree.
And I think part of that was acknowledging I didn't know everything, and I actually had someone like you to tell me, like, hey, what's going on? And you were able to tell me all these really interesting things at San Francisco State that actually helped my decision making for other grants.
Right, but I didn't know everything either, and I actually could learn from you because you were talking to other folks. You know what I mean? So I think it was like, it became reciprocal in a way that I valued.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to say, for those who are not in the education space, when we talk about Georgia State, the equivalent of that, for me to go up to Lori Beth and say, do you know Georgia State, is like somebody going like, hey, basketball, do you know Michael Jordan? Like, it's like an obvious answer, like people know Georgia State. And so to constantly try to hearken on that as the model really isn't very helpful, because to your point, they've been doing it for like 10, 15 years.
I'll never be Michael Jordan.
But you could be a Steph Curry, right? Which I think is probably your equivalent, in my opinion, in the post-secondary world. So Lori Beth, San Francisco State is doing a lot. It remains an anchor campus in the city of San Francisco and broadly in the Bay Area. What are the other cool things that San Francisco State is up to that you want the funder world to know about?
I think that one of the things that we started with the Stupski Help is focusing on not just the first year of college. There's historically been so much focus on the first year of college, and there should be, because that's where you get most of the people leaving. But then there's loss later on too, and kind of figuring out why and leaning into trying to keep students after the first year, I think is some of the work that we're doing, and I need money to do it. So it would be nice if people gave me money for that.
So retention work.
Yeah, retention work. And it's really, because if you retain them, you're going to graduate them, right? So that's really, the focus is like, not just the first year retention, but what happens then the second to third year. And maybe even sometimes we have students leave who have like 100 units, and a lot of times that's because they don't have the funding. They don't have the money themselves to stay in school. And so, we have retention grants. We've been trying to get more funding for retention grants to just help the students who want to stay and they just don't have that. It's a really small amount of money sometimes, like $2,000. And so that's one of the things we're trying to work on now.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to do my actual job as a funder and remind people that you are one of my favorite grantees.
Thank you.
And you have a lot of fierce competition, but I think what I love about San Francisco State and your team is that you have a vision, you have a plan, you all implement, and you iterate if it doesn't go as planned. And you keep going and going and going, and you're honest about it, which I think is a fantastic way to work. So I really appreciate not just our relationship as funding partner and grantee, but also everything that you do for the city and county of San Francisco.
Thank you. Thanks.
And thank you for being here.
Thank you for being slimed.
I don't know if I'm going to accept that, but okay. I'll take it. I'll take it. I deserve it. I deserve it. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Philanthropy Confidential. I enjoyed speaking to Lori Beth Way. I felt kind of emotional talking to her, and I would cry, but there's slime residue on my face, and I could get an eye infection as a result of that. But I really appreciate you all watching, and another episode of Philanthropy Confidential is coming up soon.
I will say, like, let's fail. Like, this is kind of in with the episode, right? Like, you kind of have to fail to learn. You don't always learn that much when you get everything right. You know what I mean? And it's not even possible. So I just think it's been nice to have folks around me who are willing to fail with me, and also know, like, I'm not going to be upset if they fail. Like, that's just part of the work. So I think, yeah, it's just something we kind of also, like, learn from each other, which I think is really a nice thing.